What is happening, everyone? Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock. And listen, it wasn't the best baseball slate today in terms of volume. We had 3 afternoon games, not that much happened overall. So a little bit more attention being played to NBA compared to, we've seen smaller NBA contests as of late, Matt. And while there also are smaller contests today, at least last I had looked, I was like, oh, I better reserve my entries right now because it looked like stuff was starting to fill. Let's see, did that slow down or is everything? Yeah, everything is well full. And we've got like second iterations of contests that are filling up. Looks like there's third iterations of some contests that have been in the lobby. So looks like with no MLB today, they could have done slightly bigger NBA contest sizes, but there's clearly interest in playing it still, and we're going to provide all the information that you guys need to build some winning NBA DFS lineups tonight. So do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you got any questions for us, hit us up as we go here. And it looks like we just had an ownership update, so I'm going to refresh that on screen as well, so we can make sure we got the most fresh and recent data up here. But Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Happy to be talking some hoops.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. There's like a second where I couldn't hear you.
Weird. I want to make sure I'm good on playback too, but someone said I was muted before I even talked, so I don't know how that would be possible. I'm good, man. Happy to be talking some hoops.
I can't tell if that's a bit. I can't tell if that's a bit in playback or not. But every day people say that we're muted over there, and it's just because the show hasn't started yet. I can't tell if they're serious or if it's a bit though.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I am muted. I'm gonna leave and hop out of playback, but I'll be right back on there. Yeah, weird MLB slate, but we have hoops tonight. I'm totally with you. They easily could have bumped up the contest, as evidenced by the fact that everything's already full.
Yeah. So we will start diving into it here, and also want to let you guys know that if you do want to sign up for our betting tools, there is no easier way to do it than for free. 7-day free trial. If you sign up for OddsShopper Portfolio EV, first 7 days, they are on us. So if you guys like it, which we think you will, you'll stick around. But if you don't like it, no big deal. You won't be charged anything. You can cancel before the end of the 7 days. 7-day free trial. Come check it out. Play some bets with us. We've got MLB markets. Those are going to be added in soon. Some additional ones. We got NBA going on, NHL going on as well. So come join Portfolio EV. 7-day free trial. I think you guys are going to like it. All right. Did you get that set up in playback, Matt?
Yeah, I should be good now. Someone confirmed that, but sweet.
All right. Perfect. And yeah, it did seem like you were a little bit delayed before, but I think it seems better now. Let's see. Talk, Matt?
Everything seems to be good on my end, but yeah, it seemed like there was a delay based on your response timing to me. So are we good now?
I think so. It seems like it was whatever. There was something weird going on with the mic or playback or whatever, but I think we've got it. I think we've got it sorted out now. Seems like there's no real issues on that front anymore, but if there is, we'll adjust as we go. Injury reports for today. We do have one piece of news that is going to be pretty important for the early going here. That is Anthony Simons. He is questionable to play. Beyond that, there's news, but I don't know how impactful it's going to be to the slate map. Jonathan Kuminga's questionable. Yabusele's questionable. Haywood Highsmith is questionable. Any particular pieces of news you have your eye on for tonight?
I think it's the Simons news, really. And my eye and ears are open for news we haven't gotten yet, guys, that just randomly might be out. But a lot of teams playing for stuff on this slate. So, yeah, there isn't that much as of now outside of this big Simons one, as you alluded to.
Yep, and we just found out Jeremy Grant officially ruled out. I feel like Jeremy Grant is on the injury report every single slate for the entire season and constantly gets ruled out. How many games has he even played in this year? And Anthony Simons' game time decision.
I'm going to say Grant has played in 25 games this year.
47, according to his game log, which feels like somebody counted incorrectly because I feel like he gets ruled out 8 times per week. There's 7 days per week. The Blazers usually play 3 games. And he gets ruled out in like 8 of them. So I don't know how he was able to accumulate 47 games or how he played 32 and a half minutes in those games. But the numbers are what the numbers are when it comes to Jeremy Grant for today. Let's really quickly just hit on that scenario with Anthony Simons, because it's a piece of news that is most important overall to the slate. We also have, a kind of weird structure of the slate. We got 2 games locking at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 3 games at 7:30, and then you got the 1:10 p.m. Island game where Jonathan Kuminga's questionable. It's going to be kind of hard to put that too much into consideration for the slate. But how are you approaching the Anthony Simons situation? Is he somebody who you want to try to get to a little bit more of guys like Denny Avdia? Do you think Simons plays? Because if we don't have the news right at lock, well, 33% of the slate starts right at 7. So you kind of have to get some exposure there. But what do you want to do with the Simon situation?
So for me, Portland already looks like really good, even with Simons projected in. And what I mean by that is Denny looks like maybe the best play on the slate. So if Simons is out, it only makes him look stronger. I feel similarly about Shaedon Sharpe. Klingon doesn't really get that much of a boost as Simons out, but he looks good anyways. I kind of hope Simons misses, so I just play those other three guys. I could play those other 3 guys even with Simons in, so I'm not really sure it changes much to me. Simons is in play, certainly himself. He's really overowned though. Not sure that ownership holds, but I like the other 3 guys from Portland more. So while I said it was the most important injury news on the slate, it is, at least as of now. I'm not sure it does that much for me personally because I already like a lot from Portland. Him being out would only make me like those guys more, but I like them a lot even if he's in.
Yeah, fair enough. And Anthony Simons, to your point before about him being pretty popular, currently the 3rd most owned player on the entire slate. We have him projected for just under 31% ownership. To your point about him being overowned, we've got him optimal 22.74% of the time over on DraftKings. If we look at the FanDuel side of things when it comes to Anthony Simons, he on the FanDuel side is projected for... where is it? Yeah, 35% ownership. I just missed him when he was on screen. He would have been there towards the top, but same sort of deal. 34.5% ownership, 25.5% odds of being optimal there. Oh, that's why, because I didn't actually sort by ownership because I'm being a donkey over here. Yeah, but Anthony Simons, 2nd most popular player on the FanDuel slate. The only guy who's more popular right now is Bub Carrington. So Simons is going to be important to the slate, even if you aren't playing it, or I should say, kind of no matter what in some extent, because if he's out, there's a pretty good chance you're playing him with him being one of the most popular players on the slate. But then also, even if he isn't in your lineup, some of these other guys are going to look even better. Now, I know you had mentioned Denny as somebody who you're going to like playing anyway. He is the most popular player on the slate, nearly 50% projected ownership. Nobody's all that close to him in terms of projected ownership. As far as he goes relative to that number, for cash games, we're playing him. For GPPs, do you want to be at the field at nearly 50%, overweight to the field, or underweight at that mark?
I think that if I were playing 150, I'd probably want to be slightly over the field. I mean, he looks like arguably the best play on the slate. He's playing really good ball right now. Great matchup. The only thing not to like about him is ownership, but I don't know. I mean, you see it in the tools right now. He's not even as owned as he probably should be, considering he's got by far the highest optimal percentage on the slate. 56% chance of being optimal, quote unquote, only 48% owned. Like, for that optimal percentage, that's too low. So I'd want to be over the field. I'm not saying I would like lock him in all 150, but he looks like probably the top building block on the slate. And if I were making one lineup, I'd really struggle to get away from him personally.
Yeah, so I think there might be a little bit of lag on my side. I'm just going to close some tabs here, and I think that might help a little bit to clear that up. But let's see. Yeah, I think I should be good.
I was running internet speed tests.
Everything out here.
I was running speed tests on my computer to
You
make
or
sure
me?
it wasn't me. I don't think it's me because the speed on my internet right now is really good, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I think I might have had too many tabs open, so I just closed a bunch of them. Let's see if it improves. If it doesn't, then I'll try to think of something else that I could end up doing. Anyway, let's see if there's any questions that are sitting here waiting for us. If not, we'll look at some of the other most rostered players on the entire slate. And don't forget, if you are a Stokastic sub, tag me in Discord over the course of the show, and I will answer any questions you guys have. If you are a Stokastic sub, everybody gets access to the Discord channel. If you want to sign up for any of the packages that we have here, link down below in the YouTube description box. We also have our link join offer. So if you want to get a free month of core access to any sport of your choosing, sign up at any of our affiliate partners through that link we have down below. 1 free month for each one that you do end up signing up for. No real questions in here at the moment. So let's look at some of the other popular players on the slate here, starting on DraftKings, Matt, and we'll also look at the FanDuel ownership as well. Now, we've talked about Denny. We've talked about Anthony Simons, 2 other players that are projected for north of 30% ownership. One of them is expensive, one of them less so. I want to talk about the high end. Giannis Antetokounmpo. How high of a priority is it for you to be paying all the way up for Giannis tonight?
Pretty important. I mean, I know you're allocating a lot of salary when I say that like Denny and Giannis are priorities, but for me, they are. I mean, they look like the 2 plays you just got to play tonight. Now, we know things can go sideways at any time, but both of them project extremely well. And there's enough value on this slate where I think it's pretty easily done. Like, you look at the tools, the boom bust tool right now after it was just updated, those 2 guys are at the top by a lot. And then there's a bunch of like 4 or 5K guys. So like, it's pretty easy. It's not like Denny is 11K. You know, he's expensive for who he is, but at a combined 20,700, playing both of them, I think it's relatively easy to fit rosters around them. You can't play anyone else expensive, but I'm not even sure anyone else expensive is. Certainly there's guys in play, but no one's a priority for me. So yeah, I think Giannis is not quite as big of a priority as Denny, but right after him. How about you?
Yeah, getting to a good amount of him. And when I was first looking at the slate, like obviously he was going to project for the most fantasy points when you consider that there's no Dame for the Bucks. I assume Dame probably isn't going to return this season. But then also there just aren't other players in the same tier as Giannis. So like you knew he was going to be projected for the most fantasy points by a pretty wide margin. But I just wasn't sure with there being not too many players being ruled out and it only being a 6-game slate. I thought maybe that would make it hard to get to Giannis. But then I ran everything through the Sims, and he shows up in more than half my lineup. So as far as Giannis goes, the ownership on him, I think it's more than warranted. I am overweight to him, even at the nearly 40% ownership. And the other thing to consider as well here when it comes to Giannis is if you were building a lineup and paying up for somebody who is not him, do you have a pivot that you like as a pay up option?
I feel like the natural answer is Luka because he's only 200 less, and there aren't really like there is no one else there. I mean, it's either him or LeBron. So I'm gonna answer that not really. Like, I think that those guys, it's LeBron and Luka. Any single game, they could always outscore Giannis or be the highest scorer on the slate, but on paper, I don't really think either of them look like, oh, I really want to go there as a pivot. I think they're viable. That's all I'll say. Do you see it differently?
Yeah, they're in play. I'm underweight to each of them, though, and I have far more exposure to Giannis. So if you see here, we've got Luka project for the 2nd most fantasy points on the slate. He's projected for 15% ownership. I have him in 13% of lineups right now. LeBron, we have him projected for 24% ownership. I have him in 20% of lineup. So it's not like these guys are unplayable or anything like that, but I get a little bit underweight to each of them. And then in turn, I get myself overweight to the field on Giannis, and something similar with Paulo Banchero as well. Paulo projected for 16% ownership. I've been 12% of lineup. So it's like each of these guys, I undercut by a few percentage points, and then all of that goes to what Giannis is right now. So that's how I get a little bit overweight to the field on Giannis, and then coming underweight to the field on all of these other guys, which I'll feel pretty good about. Now, there are other contrarian pay-up options as well. Steph Curry, he's coming off one of the more random, close to 100 fantasy point games that I've ever seen. You get ceiling games out of Steph Curry that kind of come out of left field. But, when you think about how he scores his fantasy points, usually mostly scoring and 3-point shooting, you don't really see those 100 fantasy point upside games. But, when he puts up triple-double stat lines out of nowhere, that'll happen. And then you've also got John Morant, who is not going to be disciplined for his finger gun actions for the other day. But John Morant, he's only 7% owned. I think that there could be cases to be made for Steph Curry or John Morant, Matt. I'm just not really getting to them at the moment.
I agree. Like, I think the case, really the only case is the ownership. Like, price and spot considered, I don't think they look like really good plays either. So it's just that they're differentiators. And I can always get on board with spending up to be contrarian. And yeah, that Steph like 95 bomb was wild. Like, I can't even. I think the last time I was really surprised like that at a score by like a stud that went nuts was Jimmy Butler, and like had a game earlier against Detroit where he had like upper 80s fantasy points. But yeah, like that aside, I can't really see like not paying for Giannis to play like a Ja or a Steph here in one lineup. Getting to them in like 150 type settings, sure, but I don't know. Just it's ownership for me, and that's about it.
Yeah, we've got kind of interesting talking point. We got James C in the chat says, "Can we get an opinion that's not backed by a sim or projection?" Yeah, so a lot of times what we are doing as far as injuries go is we're trying to figure out like, hey, will guys be in? Will guys be out? How is that going to impact our lineups? But there aren't going to be very many times where I'm like, hey, this guy is projected for 6 minutes and 8 fantasy points, and I'm playing him for some other reason. Like NBA, it is pretty projectable, especially relative to other sports. There is a lot of strategy that we go over in terms of who do we boost, how do we set up our lineups. But there's very rarely a point in time where I'm just playing somebody who has a horrible projection. Like, there has to be some sort of process to how you build your lineups. I'm not going to be going in here and saying like, just sort by projections in here and just trying to pick out like a random guy being like, hey, I'm going to play Lamar Stevens today, or I'm going to play Dalton Connect. There's the opinions are what create the projections, right? It's not like the projections are made out of nothing. We're trying to figure out how many minutes guys play, and then how many minutes they play. It's relative to how well you think they're going to produce, which also there's some sort of, personal opinion that could go into how many fantasy points per minute you think a player is going to score. So those projections are still derived from opinions. It doesn't really come from anything. But I don't know, like what would you say in your process, Matt, is something that maybe isn't strictly based on like a data or projection?
Not much. I mean, I think that like the best way I can answer it is my opinions oftentimes are like derived from the data and the projections and lineup construction and putting the puzzle pieces together. Yeah, like certainly there will be times where I'll have opinions like in certain spots, and I'm not shy to share them, but I'm not just gonna like make up narratives just to do it, because as you said, NBA is very projectable, and I don't have that strong of opinions for like, this particular slate, I guess. I mean, sure, I guess there will be some where, I might view one guy's projection as being too low or too high or whatever it might be, but that's going to be few and far between, and I don't really see it tonight. So yeah, I'm definitely kind of on exactly what you said, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'll use an example from last night where the Denver Nuggets, they're playing on the tail end of a back-to-back. They played in a double overtime game the night before. I thought there was very minimal chance that we were going to see the Denver guys play. And what ended up happening, they all got ruled out after lock. So if you didn't end up playing very much of the early cheap guys, and if you had your lineup situated in a way where you had flexibility, you were going to be able to play the Denver Spurs game, which ended up being absolutely necessary for the slate last night. Like off the top of my head, I think the top 8 value plays or something like that came from the Spurs Denver game. And that was the winning lineup. So it was just all loaded with players from Spurs Denver. It's stuff like that, which isn't strictly projection based, but it's very important to building your lineups that ultimately does end up shaping the slate. And kind of funny, as we're talking about, Jeremy Sohan was ruled out for tomorrow's slate. So still, the news always trolls me while I'm talking. It just lets me know that it's listening. Boss Monkey wants to know, kind of related to what we were talking about before, do we have a lean towards Simons being in or out? I tend to think he's more likely to play than sit. It's a forearm injury. This isn't anything like massively significant. It's not a lower body injury that should restrict him in any kind of way. I'm going to say like 75-25 Simons plays.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would lean he plays. I don't really have a strong take towards that. And just real quick, going back to that opinion question, like when I hear that question, I feel like people, or not people, but whoever, some people want to hear like, oh, I love Paolo Banchero. Like, he's amazing. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Like, that might all be true, but like, that is irrelevant to this particular slate on April 3rd, where he's 9,900 and DFS is like a math game. So I think that, using opinions too much is kind of a fool's errand in DFS.
We've got some funny super chats coming in right now from our guy 1-2. One, he wants to know, is drawing names out of a hat viable over Sims? Yeah, if you're going to play me in DFS, go for it. Go for it. Send me all the head-to-heads and draw the names out of hat. That's very funny, though. Is there ever a time, Matt, especially in the early days of DFS, where, I don't know about you, I first started playing DFS, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Do you remember the dumbest strategy you ever tried to employ when you were first starting and didn't know what you were doing?
Probably the dumbest, like when I literally first started and like I was just messing around on DraftKings, I played head-to-heads, like not crazy expensive or anything, thinking that like I had an edge in those, when in fact I did not have an edge in those. So that's probably it, but I can't think of anything like pulling names out of a hat or anything like that.
I used to project players. So I started playing in college. The first thing I did, like the first few slates I played, I projected players based on how many fantasy points they averaged from their last 5 games. And like, I thought that was reasonable. I was like, hey, This is what this guy's done recently. It must mean that it correlates to, like, no consideration for players being in or out in previous games, matchups, change in role, like none of that. It was just whatever they averaged in the last 5 games. That's what I'll assume it is now. And then I would try to put together the lineup based on players' last 5 games averages that could score the most fantasy points possible from a projection standpoint. That was what I tried to do.
It's funny, like when you know DFS and like what goes into it, you know how foolish that is. But like when you don't and you just think about it, you're like, yeah, why not?
Yeah. But also, DFS Savant says, guy acting like we don't have the lotion play of the night. Dude, we've got the exotic play of the night, which is all complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. But guess what? We still have it anyway. I guess it kind of falls into that category. So with that in mind, here we go. Listen, they ask us, can we do things that are less data oriented? It's complete nonsense. We do this for fun. This is not data oriented. I mean, to an extent, it's like who's the white guy that we're getting the most exposure to, but you never know. People could take left turns, do something else with the segment. Matt, however you want to take this, who's the exotic play of the night?
Oh man, a bunch of good options here. 2 main options for me personally. Easy to go with my fellow Jew, Denny Avdia. Already talked him up. Like him a lot here, but no, I'm going to go with Drew Timme. Got to go with Timme here at 4,100. As long as he's in the league, which might only be for the next week or whatever this season is, you got to play him. I mean, he is a guy that just puts up fantasy points. He's still really cheap on DK. Timme is my exotic play of the night.
All right. I've got one for you here. I'm going with, so Denny Avdia is clearly the obvious one, but it's almost too obvious to me. I don't want to just go out and say him. Here's a contrarian option, though. By the way, Drew Timme, also not a bad one. Seems to be a really good fantasy producer. But for myself, I'm going to go with Trixon Vukcevic, who all over the place is Vukcevic in terms of his playing time, in terms of, like what can you expect from him on a night-to-night basis. But here's what I like about him today, Matt. You never know who's going to be the backup center for the Wizards. Like sometimes it's Vukcevic, sometimes it's Rashawn Holmes. There was that slate where Vukcevic was popular. I think it was like a week or 2 ago. And then he just doesn't play. Rashawn Holmes is the backup center. We don't have to worry about that today. Rashawn Holmes is out. And you got a guy here in Vukcevic, pretty good points per minute fantasy producer. So look at him. We've got him projected for 1.12 fantasy points per minute. He's not all that popular either, at least relative to the size of the slate. He's not like unowned or anything like that. I like getting myself well overweight to the field on Vukcevic just because he's a good fantasy point per minute guy and on a smaller slate where there aren't like surefire, easy to look at value options. I think he's a guy with modest ownership who has potential for a pretty big game.
Yeah, he was on the short list for me too. So I like his ownership and everything you said. I dig it.
Let's see what else we have from the super chats. We've got, 1-2 wants to know who's the gut feeling play of the day. Just the gut feeling play of the day. You just have to pull a name out of your ass and throw them out there. Oh boy. If you had to just go with a gut feeling guy, let's see. So I won't do it exactly that way. I'll apply some actual more insight into it than just being some, random guy that we're throwing out. But here's something that I think is actually worth trying to navigate in some sort of way. Jonathan Kuminga is questionable. And in the event that Kuminga doesn't play, there is some extra minutes to be picked up by Golden State Warriors players. You don't want to go crazy with any Golden State guys, but are there any role players from the Warriors who you think could benefit in the absence of Kuminga you might want to get yourself exposure to?
I think it makes all of them look better, but I don't know if it puts any one of them in guy I need to get to territory. It's not a great spot. We know the Lakers have been very good defensively. The studs are healthy for Golden State. So I'm going to say no. Do you feel differently?
Yeah, so if I am looking at the Golden State Warriors, I will filter by them right here. All right, here we go. Golden State Warriors. Look at all the pricing for everybody. So for the Warriors, guys like Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, the roles aren't going to massively change in the absence of somebody, like Jonathan Kuminga. But there are other players who could pick up a little bit of a bigger role. And if I'm taking just a total dart flyer on somebody, Buddy Hield, he's somebody who could then step into a little bit more minutes. We got him project for 21, maybe get like 24 to 26 minutes out of Buddy Hield. If he's making his shots, he has potential to play some extended minutes for the Golden State Warriors as well. So if I'm just taking a chance on somebody in the potential absence of Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, that's somebody who I'd be considering in that scenario.
He was actually the guy I was going to say. I just didn't feel great about it. So I'm with you.
All right, here we go. Pat Clay Thompson. Oh my God, I can't believe Pat Clay Thompson has a question for us. He usually just wants to know who he should play from the backcourt on the Dallas Mavericks. But the Dallas Mavericks aren't playing today. He still has managed to find a question for us, though. He says, this is hilarious. No Clay question today. But what should one put the percentage to first for cash games in the single lineup simulator? So if you are going to build out a cash game lineup in the single lineup simulator, don't simulate it afterwards. You just kind of use this as a way to build the lineup, but the simulations are still for a GPP setting. So for the most fantasy points, but you don't actually simulate it afterwards for the purposes of cash games. But we could build out a cash game lineup right now, Matt. I think this would help a lot of people. First thing I want to ask you, who are the must plays in cash games? Like Denny Avdia, he's one for sure. Who else are we going to say is a must play in cash games? We'll plug in the must plays and then we'll optimize around them.
Yeah, so I think Denny and Giannis are two guys you have to play in cash games. After that, I think there's a lot of guys you can use to get different. For me, it would be those two guys, Zach Edey and Jacoby Walter as two guys I would play for sure. But again, I think that really only Giannis and Denny are like the guys you have to play in cash games in my eyes.
So let's throw in Denny, Giannis, Edey. Drew Timmy's very popular as well. Let's throw Drew Timmy.
I would play Timmy and Walter personally as well.
All right, so we'll throw all these guys in then. So we've got a lot of it built out. We've got 5 players in here: Jacoby Walter, Denny Avdia, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Zach Edey, and Drew Timmy. Now let's optimize the rest of it. And we end up getting to Ryan Rollins, Shaden Sharp, and Lonnie Walker as the other spot. So to the question that we had gotten asked by Pat Clay Tomstar, I would just enter this lineup in cash games now. I wouldn't go ahead and now press the simulate button because once again, the simulate button, you're simulating the lineup for how it would be structured in a GPP setting. It just doesn't matter for cash games. So just use this as like a lineup builder and use the optimize feature that way. And I think that you'll be on the right path by doing it that way. Yabusele, he is in for today. So we've got that news. And then also the starting lineup for the Washington Wizards, Matt. Marcus Smart, Bub Carrington, AJ Johnson, Champagnie, and Sarr. Let's see, what was our projected starting lineup for the Wizards? Because I don't remember who it is that we had projected to start at point guard. Was it Smart? Let's see. All right. So for the Wizards, yeah, we did not have Marcus Smart projected as the starter. This was the starting lineup we had. We were projecting AJ Johnson, Bub Carrington, Champagnie, Thor, and Sarr. So this is definitely going to be a little bit of a curveball. Our projection is going to be updated shortly, and then we will see what the implications of that are. Matt, what do you make of Marcus Smart starting at point guard? Is this somebody we're going to have to consider now?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a guy we're going to probably have to just play. It doesn't feel good, but yeah, I mean, starting now, like, I don't get it. I don't really know what they're doing, but he's 3,500. He already projected for like 17 and a half fantasy points. I don't really see how you get away from it now because we had a lot of good value before, but not really that many guys in the 3K range. So for me, I think he's going to be bumped up to like easy 20 plus fantasy points, like probably 23, 24. And I'll play him at that point with shooting guard eligibility. Yeah. How do you see it?
Yeah, I agree. Like clearly the matchup isn't ideal. And I know that Marcus Smart has had a massively disappointing season. I mean, who would have thought just a couple of years ago he won Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah.
And
I feel bad for him.
When he was traded from the Celtics. Yeah, like when he was traded from the Celtics, by the way, also incredible job by the Celtics to identify when he was whatever it was that they were able to use to identify that he was about to drop off a cliff. They flipped him into Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
That seems impossible.
Bill Simmons,
that could have happened now.
Simmons talks about that all the time. They saw something.
Yeah, they had to have. I mean, there's just it would be too coincidental if not. Either they knew there was an injury or something else. There was something that they were able to look at in the front office and be like, we have to get off of Marcus Smart right now. Because if you remember when the trade happened, a lot of people were like, hey, we get that they're getting Kristaps Porzingis, but Marcus Smart is like the heart and soul.
I was just about to say that. The heart and soul. Like he went through battles with that team. I feel bad that he didn't get to win a title with them.
Yeah. And then he totally fell off a cliff. So you get Marcus Smart in Memphis. That doesn't really pan out how Memphis would have hoped. And then he gets shipped out to Washington, which is where old players go to die. Here's what Washington is, Matt. Washington is what Florida is for our older Jewish relatives.
Yes, it is.
For NBA players. Like that's where you
come on down.
That's where they go live out their final days.
You're so right. Yeah, I mean, look at their team right now. Smart, Middleton, etc. But for tonight, I think Smart looks good.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've got Marcus Smart on the team, Chris Middleton, Jordan Poole's another one as well. This team is it's no good, but also they like to, I don't know why they like to accumulate these older veterans. Like Ryan Stubbs says Washington is what the Clippers used to be. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if did the Clippers ever do that to this extent?
Yeah, I don't know if the Clippers ever had brought in guys that were actually ever any good, but they just had a lot of older players.
Yeah.
Smart clearly looks great.
Trying to remember those because if he's talking about the Chris Paul.
No.
Who does?
Smart projects for 22 and a half fantasy points now. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we got that updated. So I'll throw this on screen so that we can see the updated projections, and then ownership should be coming in a second as well. Yeah, so Washington. But yeah, so anyway, like if you're talking about like the Blake Griffin, Chris Paul Clippers, like that was actually a good team. The Wizards are the worst team in the league, and they just accumulate these old veterans. Like it seems like they're trying to win, which is very bizarre. Like they make moves as if they're trying to contend, and they're just god awful. None of the pieces fit. Anyway, projections update. Here's what we have for this team now. So the most notable change here, Marcus Smart now in for 22.5 fantasy points. He's the best value play on the slate now, Matt.
Yeah, again, we didn't have a ton in the 3K range. Now we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've got Marcus Smart, and then who else is being impacted by this? You know, AJ Johnson in for 25 fantasy points. We've got Bub Carrington for 28.62. Is there anything else that really changes to you for Washington from this?
I don't think so. I didn't love Washington before this. Like clearly we talked about Vucevic and Bub Carrington. There wasn't anyone I viewed as like a must play. Now there is, and Smart. Colby Jones also looks good in the tools. It's small forward eligibility at 3,900. But for me, it's Smart is now in that list of guys you got to play. Timmy looks better too now for some reason.
All right. Yeah, we will. Well, I think it does make a little bit of. So I'll check Timmy. What changed with Drew Timmy? All right, so Timmy. It looks like we upped this projection a little bit from before. Just gave him a little bit of a bump. I'm gonna guess some of his props moved a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably
I mean,
something
now
along
he
those
looks
lines.
like a guy. Yeah, now he already was in that must play category, but now he, like between him, Edie, Orlando Robinson, and Vucevic, and Klingon, like there's 5 really good center options, and none of them are expensive. I think Timmy's the best option, though.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with Timmy at all. Also, if we go ahead and look at the FanDuel side of things, and we should have, oh, cool. We've got the ownership updated as well. So let's look at Washington over on FanDuel, and we could see what the ownership is for Marcus Smart over there. I know he's a little bit more expensive, Smart. We've got him at $4,200 over on FanDuel. I mean, $4,200, nearly 22 fantasy point projection. We've got him well under owned on the slate as well. 15% ownership, 27% chance to be optimal. I thought Marcus Smart was going to be way more popular than what he is coming in at. I mean, 15% ownership over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, Smart is now at 22% projected ownership. That number has to go up. Has to go up. He's going to be more popular than that.
I agree. I think it has to go up.
We'll see. I'll start updating stuff now. I assume Marcus Smart is probably going to be my most rostered player now.
I can't see making a lineup like, you know, if I'm playing 1 to 3 or whatever and not playing him. Because
we've got a question.
He's a good enough fantasy producer too. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, he's a good enough fantasy producer when he's on the floor.
Also, people saying Smart. Look at because people are saying Marcus Smart sucks. All right. Did you watch the Spurs Nuggets game last night? That was nothing but shitty players who were playing, and they were all in the winning lineup.
Yeah, that's NBA DFS for you. I mean, it's all about opportunity, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter that they might suck or whatever.
There wasn't a point last night where I was like, I'm playing Pickett because I think he's really good. It was just nice. Just got opportunity because a bunch of guys are out. So yeah, Marcus Smart, not good at this point, but what does it matter? What does it matter? Like, he's got opportunity.
Not excited about playing Marcus Smart. I don't think he's a great NBA player at this point of his career, but he's 3,500 in the starting point guard tonight. So, like, yeah.
Now, what's going to end up happening is probably they're going to like change their starting lineup in 5 minutes or something like that. But also, here's something else to consider as well. Washington doesn't have that many guys active today. Sarr, Carrington, Vucevic, Johnson, Champagny, Smart, Jones, Thor, Martin, Gill. So they have 10 active players today. And of those active players, most of them are centers and front court guys. The backcourt players they have are Marcus Smart, AJ Johnson, Bub Carrington. That's it. Like if you want it, Colby Jones, I consider more of a wing. So if you want to say that he is somebody who could play with the ball in his hands, a little bit more, like I guess, but they kind of really only have 3 active guards today. I'm not going to say Marcus Smart plays 36 minutes or anything like that, but I think he's pretty safe to play over 20 minutes. I think he's more likely to play 28 minutes than he is to play under 20 minutes, barring injury. So I'm going to have a hard time getting away from Marcus Smart.
You said you think he's more likely to play 28 than under 20?
Yeah.
Totally agree.
By the way, Anthony Simons out. So we are now going to have a Portland Trailblazers situation to go over now, because if we go and look at the Portland scenario, where we now are not going to have Anthony Simons there, Delano Banton now also enters the mix as a top value option. And we're 2 minutes removed from me saying that Marcus Smart is the best value play on the slate. He's been supplanted. It is now, he's been overtaken. Delano Banton's now the best value play on the slate, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say, forgot about him, but I kind of expected Simons to play as we went over earlier. So yeah, Banton.
Yeah.
Now it just makes it so Giannis and Denny are even harder to get away from.
Yeah, for sure. Especially Giannis. I'll end up getting to a little bit more Luka as a result of this, but I'm probably going to have Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had Giannis in a little bit more over half my lineups before. And now that number is probably going to go up to like 60 to 70%, just because we have all this value and kind of a lack of other places to spend up for it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I think Giannis now is almost impossible to get away from. Luka's more in play, but Denny for me as well, just because he already looks so good. He was one of the few like spend up options that actually projected great. And now he's just going to project even better because no Simons. So like you have it's easier to get to him because, more value comes out, but also he gets a bump himself.
Yeah. And then if we look at what happened in Delano Banton's last game where he started, and by the way, I'm just kind of assuming that Banton draws another start because started last game, ended up going pretty well. So I assume we get another start out of him. 28 and a half minutes, scores 35 and a half fantasy points. That was his only start of the year. And in that one start, he put up the nearly 36 fantasy points. Overall for the season, though, Matt, he's well over a fantasy point per minute as a fantasy producer. So if we're going to be expecting somewhere around 30 minutes from Delano Banton, then you're expecting north of 30 fantasy points. Not only are we going to go that high with his minutes, my best guess is probably that we give him 28 or 29 minutes, maybe 28 and a half, and we split the difference. But that's going to put him right around 30 fantasy points. Even on FanDuel, where he's $5,700, if we're going to expect about 30 fantasy points from him, he looks really good even at $5,700. It just goes to show how underpriced he is on DraftKings. What do you make him at $5,700 on FanDuel?
Yeah, different play. I still think he's wildly in play. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think even on FanDuel, he's one of the top plays on the entire slate. So we'll see. We'll see what the data team ends up doing with his minutes. If they see it way differently than me, than what it is that I'm expecting for his playing time, then maybe I'll reconsider. But I think Banton looks pretty good right now. Let's see what kind of questions we got in the super chats as well as in Discord while we wait for some of the updates. Sotex says, Greg, Matt, thanks for all you guys do. Data for the win. Shout out Sotex. We've also got the News God. News God says, birthday is tomorrow. Can you get a shout out? Shout out to News God. News God's birthday tomorrow. Any plans for the weekend? Let us know. Let us know. Happy birthday. Happy birthday in advance. Like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel from News God. He demands it. That's what he told me this earlier, actually. He said that for his birthday, he wants everybody to like the video and subscribe to his YouTube channel, to our YouTube channel. It was a weird birthday request, but that's what he said he wanted, guys. Eric Goodwin. Eric says, best plays by position on DraftKings, and thanks. All right. Yeah, so now that we've got all this different news that has up overall plays on the slate at each position. No projections update quite yet. Let's go ahead and start by looking at the point guard position, Matt. Who are you considering as of right now your favorite overall play at point guard?
It's got to be Banton. I mean, waiting for the projections, et cetera, to update, but I'm going to say Banton right now and save Smart for shooting guard.
Yep. Banton for me at point guard. I'm actually going to say, Sharp on the low end, Smart on the low end looks good, but Shaedon Sharp looks a lot better now as well in the absence of Anthony Simons. So, just to get a little bit different from you, you're going Marcus Smart. I'm going to go Shaedon Sharp at shooting guard. Small forward. Who's your favorite player at the small forward spot? This one's kind of hard to say anybody else. Yeah. Denny for me as well. I think Denny is going to be, he was already going to be really chalk. He looked like good chalk. Now he's going to be even more popular, but he's also going to project for even more fantasy points and look even better. Power forward. It's going to be even, like we just said, even harder to get away from Giannis with Banton as an option now. Anybody different for you at power forward?
Nah, Giannis. I mean, I don't really think it's close there. Like, I think saying anyone else is just to get different.
At center, what do you got for us at center?
Again, bunch of good plays here. I think those 5 guys I rattled off earlier are all wildly in play, and they all project like pretty similar to each other, price considered. I'm going to say Timmy is my favorite. Timmy. Love saying that also. So I'll go with Timmy, but I wouldn't fault you for saying literally any one of the other 5 I mentioned earlier.
I'm going to go with Vucevic. Just lineups are starting to become more and more chalky for us. He is a contrarian guy who I think is upside I like, and I want to be overweight to the field too. So give me Tristan Vucevic right there. Getting back to Discord, we got Steven Leibowitz saying, based on ownership, do we really think Giannis is 3x more likely to outscore Luka? I'm making this much closer. Tell me I'm wrong. So I don't think he's 3 times more likely to outscore Luka, but we now have a lot of value at the point guard position. And one thing that does kind of hurt Luka is that if you are playing him, you're playing him at the same spot as some of the top value on the slate. And power forward, it's a fairly weak position for today. You know, we do have Denny with small forward and power forward eligibility, but outside of that, there aren't that many guys to be liking. So I think just because of the positions of the individual players here, you know, it makes a really big difference that Luka is somebody who we could, of course, I sorted by the wrong thing. We could only play Luka at point guard, whereas Giannis could be in the power forward spot, the forward spot. So I don't think that he's 3 times more likely to outscore him, but consider the optimal rates that we have here, which does consider things like positionality. It's not quite 3x, but it's more than 2x the chances that Giannis ends up outscoring or ends up being in the optimal lineup over Luka. And that's probably going to go up after this next update as well.
I agree.
Next question. It is from Master PJ. Master PJ wants to know thoughts on Rollins and KPJ. Which one puts up a 40 burger tonight? Probably neither of them. I prefer Ryan Rollins though, just because he's starting.
Same. I hate saying that. Oh man, I don't know if I can ever get to the point where I like Rollins more than KPJ, but I don't particularly love either of them tonight.
Yeah, I had Rollins when we came into the show, but we've since had Banton and Marcus Smart open up. So Ryan Rollins, you know, I prefer him to Kevin Porter Jr. He'll be in some lineups for me, but he's not my favorite value play on the slate or anything along those lines. The next question that we have, it is from Krebsy. He wants to talk about the center position. Yeah, we've talked a little bit about the center position here, and we do have projections and ownership updated as well now, or at least I thought I saw those updated. Yeah. So I'll sort by the Portland Trailblazers, but I think there's a lot of guys at center that look pretty similar to each other in terms of we've got Drew Timme, we've got Zach Edey, you got somebody like Vucevic, who's a little bit cheaper. I don't know that there's one guy I want to be married to at the center position, Matt. I prefer to kind of rotate around these guys.
I agree. Again, I think Timme is my favorite, but between Vucevic, Edey, Orlando Robinson, and then Klingon, I like all those guys. So, yeah.
Ready to go over some projections here?
Let's do it.
We have now Delano Banton projected for 73% ownership, projected for just under 30 fantasy points. We gave him 27. All right, I guess 28 before, or 28 and a half. So not that far off. But you see here, in 27 minutes, he's projecting for just under 30 fantasy points. Let's say he gets to 28 and a half minutes, then you do get him to north of 30 fantasy points. So Delano Banton, once again, strong option on DraftKings, strong option on FanDuel, even though he's a little bit more expensive there. Denny looks great now. Denny's projected for 48 and a half fantasy points. Shaden Sharp looks great. He's projected for 38.2 fantasy points. Klingon looks a little bit better. He's projected for over 30 fantasy points. And anything else that really stands out to you about the Portland Trailblazers?
Yeah, so the one guy that looks now in play that I don't think was in play at all before is Matisse Thybulle. You talked about kind of how weak forward is. He's 4K, projects for 22 plus fantasy points. It's coming in with nice leverage. Like, I'm not going out of my way to play Thybulle. I never will, but as a last guy in, you could do worse. I mean, he's cheaper than some of the guys we talked about earlier. But yeah, it kind of just solidifies what I talked about at the beginning of the show, honestly, when you asked me about injury news. We didn't even mention Banton then, but Avdia and Shaden Sharp look really, really good. I think Klingon now looks even better, and then Banton. So I think you're going to get a lot of Portland exposure. You're going to get a lot of exposure from Portland one way or another here.
Yeah, Portland is the team who I'm going to have the most exposure to on the slate by a lot, and there won't even be a close second team, Matt.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's just how the NBA DFS kind of flows. Like, when you've already got really good plays on a team and then you also take out one of their better, higher usage players, like, that just naturally makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, so Portland, they are looking really good. We shouldn't have any other news that breaks pre-lock. I'm saying that just to see if I could summon something, use the powers of inconvenience and throw that out into the universe. But I'm about to kick off a sim run now that everything is updated on the site, and I think we should be good to go and start finalizing some of our lineups here. Final questions that we have from you guys. We do have a super chat from Sam Van Dam. He says, sorry, I was late going, but does Matt like Boncaro tonight? And if not, who for $9,900 or less? Matt, do you like Boncaro tonight? And if not, who is your favorite player for $9,900 or less?
I could always play Boncaro because he's just good, but like nothing about him stands out for me. If I had to pick one player at 9,900 or less, it's going to be Boncaro because like there isn't really any other option. I mean, if you're telling me, well, it's Denny. I mean, if we're including him, like he projects for more than Boncaro and he's 1,300 cheaper. If you're taking him out because like he's just an auto lock, man, I don't know. Like, Ja, I mean, Steph, I guess, but it's Boncaro. If you have that price range and nothing else, it's Boncaro. I guess maybe Ant, but Boncaro for me. But I'd probably try to move some stuff around so I could get up. Or, you know, if you're playing Giannis, Boncaro, and Denny, all the more power to you.
We've had so much value open up at the point guard spot now that it makes it even harder to justify guys like Steph Curry or John Morant as really strong contrarian options. So just based on positionality, like I don't really like Boncaro all that much at his price tag, but the position's kind of weak. Like I just think he's kind of the default answer.
Yeah, good point there as well with the forward positionality and like how loaded guard is. Like there is no one else there, I guess. Like, and I will say, like, even though I think he's probably a little bit too expensive here, he is one of the natural pivots off of Giannis. Like, there are certainly worlds where Giannis underperforms a little bit tonight, blowout or whatever, and Boncaro overperforms, and their scores are closer than we're projecting. You know, if Giannis has a down game and has 57 and Boncaro has a spike game and has 55, you obviously want Boncaro in that situation. So I will say, like, I poo-pooed him a little bit earlier, but there aren't that many pivots away from the high price from Giannis, as we talked about earlier. He's one I could get on board with.
The next question that we have in here, it is from Stan0302 wants to know, is playing Banton, Sharp, and Denny too much Portland exposure in the same lineup? Not because of the size of the slate and the other available options. I don't know about you, Matt. I have no issues with all three of them being in the same lineup.
Yeah, I have no issue playing more. I mean, I don't think you have to force more, but like just because I'm playing, like for example, just because I'm playing Avdia, Sharp, and Banton doesn't mean I don't want to play Matisse Thybulle. Now, maybe I don't want to play Matisse Thybulle anyways, but nothing to do with having too much Portland or anything like that. I like having a lot of one spot because a lot of times, you know, people only think of the negative correlation. There's a ton of positive correlation in the NBA as well.
By the way, we just ran a projection update and gave Banton some extra minutes. Now he is projected for north of 30 fantasy points. So something to keep in mind here. If you guys haven't done it already, rerun Sims because we've got Banton projected even better than where he was at before. Bando, Lonnie Walker in play, not starting. No interest in Lonnie Walker for me. Yourself, Matt?
Nah, I mean, I just think there's better plays now.
And then we've got another super chat here. This is from Chuck Thurston. Chuck wants to know, who is the best forward 5,900 and under on DraftKings? So, Matt, the price point here is $5,900 or less. So we could play anybody at small forward or power forward at that price range. Who stands out the most to you?
Man, this goes into what you talked about earlier. Like, there's just not a good range. I guess Lonnie Walker still, but it's hard for me. I don't know. It's hard for me to answer these questions because if price is considered, then I'd play Lonnie Walker over Pele Larson.
Yeah, but, so I think people are looking at this as last man in. Like they just have the salary and they don't know who to roster and they want to know what button to click.
So I'd play Lonnie Walker there.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me. Boy, I don't like him though.
Same. I mean, that's a tough range.
Yeah, $5,900. Let's see if there's somebody I like more. That's Santi Aldama for me. Also, not somebody who I'm thrilled with, but that's the guy I get the most that I get the most exposure to in that range.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I kind of passed over him. It's definitely Aldama over Lonnie Walker. It's tough because that's just there aren't that many plays that look good there, so I skipped over him. A lot of the better plays in that pricing tier are guards or centers.
Yep. And that is going to do it for all the... Oh, no. We've got Frankie Lofton says, top plays at each position for a DK single entry. Yes, I've got my lineups finished right now, so I'll let you know who it is I have the most exposure to at each position. Starting at point guard, I mean, that's just... It's Delano Banton. I have him in 98% of my lineups.
Yeah, it's Banton. It's not close.
All right. And now at shooting guard... That is Shaedon Sharpe.
I'm going to still say Marcus Smart.
Okay. I have Smart is my third most rostered shooting guard. Number one, it is Banton because he's got shooting guard eligibility. 2 is Sharpe. 3 is Marcus Smart for me. At small forward, that is Denny Avdia.
Yeah, same. And man, Sharpe is... I wish he had forward eligibility like he often does, but it just sucks he doesn't. Totally with you. Denny is the small forward here.
Power forward, that is Giannis.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And then center for me, it's Vucevic relative to ownership.
Yeah, the ownership. Oh, yeah, he is way less owned now. I'm going to stick with Timmy. I like him a lot here, and the ownership isn't high enough where I feel the need to get off him. I totally get going elsewhere because ownership is lower on some other guys, but I don't need to get off Timmy because of the ownership.
And now let's get to a couple of questions that came into Discord as well. We've got Heel Wrecker wants to know favorite small forward for $5,500 and under. Boy, that's another really shitty price range. I'm going to say Justin Champagnie, but don't feel good about that one at all. There just aren't other players to press there. M. Grizzly says the Sims are getting him underweight to Banton and Giannis. That is not the case for myself. I've Banton in nearly 100% of lineups, and then I have Giannis in a little bit more than half of my lineups as well. So, yeah, I'm still getting to both of them there. Make sure that, I mean, now we're kind of approaching lock, but make sure you had everything run when we did the latest projection update where Banton got boosted a little bit. And then Bronx Boy wants to know, is Hero playable over Morant? So if I'm just picking between Hero and Morant, I think Morant is more upside, Matt.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's close enough than you would probably think before the year started, but I still would take Morant.
All right. And that is going to do it for us, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There isn't going to be a post-lock show over in playback just because we've already got the necessary news, and there's also only a few more games left to lock. So I don't think we have a lot of value to provide you guys over in playback, but guess what? Guess what you can do? You could go ahead and you could go and watch the games in there, hang out, chat amongst yourselves, sweat the slate out. So I dropped that link into the YouTube chat. So if you guys do want to head on over to playback, click on that link. You can watch the games over there. Other than that, guys, enjoy the games. Have a good night. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Peace out.